Another week here, Twin Cities area, Minnesota, chasing down all kinds of stuff. We had warm weather, we had rain, we dodged a little bit of lightning, we were in the West Metro, hit a variety of different lakes, found some consistent patterns for sure. What's going on definitely is we're in summer. It is mid-July, water temps, believe it or not, mid-80s. We've had some people put their hands in the water and kind of smile, kind of wishing they would have brought their swimsuit out in the boat. It's that time of year. Things are heating up. It's 90 degrees again today. I believe it's going to be 90 degrees again tomorrow. Although if you look into the extended forecast, things shape up, things get nice. I think I saw some days where the highs were only in the 70s and we might get down into the 50s at night, which is awesome. Got a privilege and a chance to fish with some pretty cool people this week. All different types of walks of life. Had a lot of great conversations, super fun. Honestly, probably one of my favorite reasons I guide is that right there. Catching fish, love it. It's cliche. You say catching fish is a bonus. No, we want to go out there and catch fish. But having some of these conversations, man, a lot of good stuff happened this week. That's part of the reason fishing's awesome, is that you never know what you're going to expect. You never know what's going to happen. You don't know what memories you're going to make. But yeah, there's some cool fish caught this week, from walleyes to bass, to pike, to crappies, you name it. Some big bluegills were caught, some smallmouth bass were caught. So a big variety here as we move into mid-July. Like I said, water temps, you're gonna wake up in the morning at 5 a.m., get in the water, and you're gonna see 78 degree water temps. And by the time you end your day in early afternoon, you're gonna see 82, 83. I've seen 84.5 degree water temps this week. So things are scorching. Now we're talking surface temp. That's not 4, 5, 10 feet down. That is right on the surface, right where your transducer is. That's what's reading those temperatures. So it can be a little misleading, but still, regardless, things are heating up. We've been predominantly targeting, I'd say bass this week. You know, we've caught some walleyes mixed in. They're in some of the same habitat. We've picked some of those up. Honestly, call it what it is, a lot by accident. We've targeted a few walleyes, had minimal success, to be honest, but we're also not fishing probably optimal time. I've had some good conversations in the last couple of days about that exact topic. If I wanted a walleye fish, what would I do type situation? Well, it's going to be more of a timing thing this time of year. When the water is this warm and the conditions are the way they are, you're going to want to chase walleyes probably right before sunup and right at sunup. You're going to want to chase them right at sundown, and even the hours leading up to midnight. I've seen some bites happen here in the last week where from that 9 to midnight at night, bewitching set of hours has been where some of these walleyes are caught. And that's when things start to cool down. The fish kind of acclimate a little more. Maybe the pressure is off the lake. I'm talking specifically Lake Minnetonka, where I tell you what, I was out there this week, and even at 3:30 in the afternoon on a Wednesday, Thursday, it doesn't matter. The lake is hopping with boats. People getting out there having fun. That can play a role on our fishing pressure here in the Twin Cities area. So those are elements that we don't often think about, is the boating pressure, the people, that kind of stuff. That can play as much of a role as anything else. So walleye fishing, while it does exist, while it can happen, we had a group pick up 3 the other day on Minnetonka, just honestly pitching Ned rigs bass fishing, kind of getting into the right zone where there's a bunch of fish and you never know what you're going to catch. So that's something that you can consider. But mostly we've been chasing bass. We've been targeting largemouth bass predominantly. I did fish some West Metro stuff Monday, Tuesday, and we caught some smallmouth mixed in, but predominantly largemouth bass. We'll touch on that. The pike seem to be kind of everywhere. If you're not catching pike, you're probably not casting enough, to be honest. There's just a lot of them swimming around, chasing the bait. The bluegills, the crappies, they're setting up on their summer spots. They're on outside weed lines. They're in huge clusters of 20, 30, 100 schools at a time, so they're not overly hard to find and locate. If you don't have the electronics, which I get people that ask, well, what if I don't have forward-facing sonar? What if I don't have the side imaging stuff? That's fine. You have a fishing rod and you can fan cast. Get on the outside weed line, start fan casting. If you catch one, you're probably going to catch another one. They're schooled up right now. And we're using little tube jigs, little Mr. Twister tails, little minnow baits. You can certainly fish live bait. All of the above will catch you crappies and bluegills. Now let's jump back into the bass fishing. I just put a post out yesterday about Ned rigs because a lot of anglers are asking about Ned rigs, not what they are. I think a lot of you are probably educated enough now to know what a Ned rig is, right? It's a smaller jig worm, a stouty little came onto the scene as a finesse presentation. I no longer look at it as a finesse presentation. In fact, this exact jig head I'm holding right here is a 1/6 jig head. I even fish 1/5. Now, in my world of finesse fishing, 1/6, 1/5 generally doesn't jump into the equation, but I am now using this as a search bait, as a search tool, as a fish catching tool, as a do everything approach. Ned rig fishing has really evolved over the last few years as something that just kind of gets you into the zone where the fish are. And you're offering them something a little smaller in terms of their meal. So this is the Ned Ringer from Mr. Twister. Love this thing, really cool, rib body, little ball tail. That thing's got, look at that, just a ton of action down there. And the Ned head's gonna have that flat bottom, hits the bottom just like this, and you hop it up, hits the bottom, hop it up, hits the bottom. That's kind of what the Ned jig is designed for. However, a lot of our bass, even our walleyes, they hit it on the fall. You pitch it out there, pull some line out, you want that bait to go straight down. You don't want to flick the bail the second it hits the water because it's going to pendulum back to the boat. That bait hits the water, I pull some line out, I want that bait to hit the water and go straight down. A lot of times you'll get that bite on the fall. If you don't, subtle hops. We've talked about how we'll fish in Ned rig in the past. My reel is really designed at this point to pick up the slack and obviously fight a fish. So I'm not reeling this bait in. I'm working it with my rod tip, dropping the rod tip, picking up the slack with the reel, working the bait back, keeping contact with the bottom, picking up the slack. And as we've talked about in bass fishing, hook sets are free. You feel a bump in the tug, put your rod tip down, pull back, you feel some weight, set it. And if it is a piece of weed, no problem, it rips through. Oftentimes that draws a fish in to go to bite that bait. So what I'm doing is I'm just kind of slowly working that back, super simple. So the Ned rig has been king. I am fishing a heavier Ned, we've talked about that. I can cast easier, I can hit the bottom quicker, I have contact quicker. These fish don't care that it's a 1/6 ounce jig head. They do not care. Whether it's a 12-inch walleye or a 6-pound largemouth, they'll eat the 1/6 ounce jig, no problem. But this allows me to be more efficient with my casting ability, getting down quicker, contact with the bottom, all those sorts of things. And I'm fishing a braided main line to a fluorocarbon leader, lots of sensitivity, no stretch. I can pop it through the weeds, and away we go. So the Ned rig has been dominant. I'm fishing Thorne Brothers. This is a stealth, medium action, 7-foot rod. Works exceptionally well. You can do a 2500 series or 3000 series Shimano reel. My OW walleye rod that I designed with Thorne Brothers is very similar to this. It's a little bit lighter than this, so it's in between a medium light and a medium. That was another one that would work exceptionally well for Ned rig fishing, and away we go. We're pitching outside weed lines, inside turns, sparse weeds, all that kind of stuff. As we know in the Twin Cities, all of our fish, no matter the species, is relating to the weeds. So Ned rig. Another thing that's getting bit right now, and that is a lot of fun, is just a swim bait. Now I'm not talking over the top, crazy big, gaudy 7, 8, 9, 10-inch swim baits. I'm talking 3, 4-inch style baits. That's a smasher head from All Terrain. That's a Largo shad swim bait. Looks like a bluegill in the water. That's about the size of the baits that all these fish are eating right now, largemouth bass specifically. Obviously pike will eat this. We've had walleyes take this. This is the kind of bait this time of year I like to fish because I can just bomb cast it on a deep weed line, let's say 15 to 25 feet of water, bomb cast it out there and just slowly retrieve it back. Maybe a sweep here and there, slowly retrieve it back, and they're gonna just pound it. I'm fishing 17-pound straight fluorocarbon on this. I'm using a rod that's kind of in between a chatterbait and a crankbait rod. So I'm not using fiberglass, and I'm not using something overly heavy. I'm launching that out there, giving it a 4 or 5 second countdown, and then I'm just slowly, at a slow to medium retrieve, back to the boat with maybe a sweep here or there. And if I feel a weed, pop it through. And this is catching a lot of fish right now. So you kind of got a deeper weed line approach. So if you're fishing with your buddy or 2 or 3 friends and they're fan casting the weed line, somebody else can be chucking this right along the weed line, almost towards deep water a little bit where there might be some sparse stuff. And it's amazing how much this swim bait in the Twin Cities just gets bit. So not too big, not too gaudy, not overly expensive. I'm not fishing a $25 crankbait type swim bait, hard bait. This is a soft bait. You can buy these in all kinds of different shapes and sizes and colors. There's all variations of different minnow style jig heads. You could definitely downsize to something like a little mare or a sassy shad, or you can upsize to something like this 4-inch Largo shad. Either or gets bit. So that's another way to catch fish this time of year. And away we go. So many different ways to do it. Drop shot, we talked about that last week. Still catching fish. Jig worm, which is basically a Ned rig, longer shank hook, maybe a longer worm with a twister tail on it, sometimes that reacts a little differently to these fish. So if they don't want the Ned rig, which can happen, I know a lot of guys and gals say Ned rig, cheat code to fishing. Sure, but I've had days where the jig worm, longer worm, twister tail, bigger profile, slower fall, outfishes the Ned rig 5-1. So on days I'm uncertain, I might have a client fish a Ned rig and a client fish a jig worm, and then we'll see what gets bit the most and assimilate from there. So, but this week, Ned rig's been king. That is the bait I'm gonna have tied on again tomorrow for everybody when we start the day, and we're gonna get after it and hopefully catch some more fish. So that's what we're up against. Once again, I'm going to preach a little bit of hydration. Make sure you bring plenty of water in the boat. I'm wearing long sleeve sun shirt from Blackfish all the time. Those are important things. We've talked about maybe throwing your swimsuit on if you want to take a dip, no problem. And if you can pick your time of day to fish, first 3, 4, 5 hours of light, and then as the sun goes down from a comfort level. We have that smoggy, hazy grossness right now. Even unhealthy conditions, they're saying, in the metro. So keep that in mind too. Again, that's up to you on how you want to handle that. But I feel a little bit, I have no asthma, no nothing, but certainly we've talked about it on these walks and hanging out in the boat throughout the day. You can feel it, just your lungs get a little heavier. So take that into account too. A lot of things happening right now. Hopefully this pushes through in the next few days. So that's what we're doing. Mid-July, fishing in summer, fishing the Twin Cities. The bite's on. Great time to be out there. Go out there, have some fun. It's the middle of summer. Still a lot to go. Set some hooks. Be safe.